Hey, happy Monday to everyone. Well, we'll get to some news first, basic news, what's happening inside the news. Speak on a few things that people aren't aware of with United States Space Force, the power of the satellites, technology that they have connected to 5G, connected to infrared systems, connected to radar systems, weather technology systems, connected to technology that's basically everywhere, and how this Cerberus works with all of this different technology, because it's going to add to the story that we're going to talk about Trump, what's happening. Well, all right, well, let's touch on a few basic stuff that's on the news. If you're now joining in, if you're over in Rumble, my new channel, if you're over in YouTube, the extended version, you'll be able to access the extended version. Okay, so let's get to the simple part first of Trump, Air Force One, Mar-a-Lago. Now, where Trump gets off the airplane at Mar-a-Lago off of Air Force One, now the FBI, Secret Service, they found inside a tree where it's a sniper's nest where you can assassinate the president, and it's a hunter's nest, and the FBI is investigating it. They don't know who put that there. Somebody constructed this thing, put it up there. So to me, it's just psychological operations, because they're setting up for a huge event that's coming for Trump. They're gonna plan the next assassination, not the black hats, but the white hats. I've been telling you, they're gonna stage the next one again. That's gonna kick off a lot of new laws in the United States. It's also gonna create a lot of things that's connected over to the military, executive orders, military laws of wars, things that's connected over to that. Because later on, like I said, everything's going to tribunals. Everything is being set up to show that the United States is occupied by dark forces, by foreign forces. So this is just a huge setup. Trump is getting ahead of everything. The military is getting ahead of everything. Now, going back to what people call Cerberus, it's space-based infrared system, that's created by the United States Space Force. The intelligence agencies that Trump created, and they have a lot of technology, and it's connected to Cheyenne Mountain. Now, this technology, say the Earth, the globe, I think most of you might know about this system. In the United States, you have this technology of Cerberus, the infrared system. It shoots around the satellite, different sensors, infrared sensors, but it uses all of these different satellites, different operations that can capture what's happening in between all of these different communications of the satellites, what's on their ground-based systems. And the story that they put out there in public for you is always it's just the smallest part. Everything is always much bigger what the real military has, because they're not going to give you all the technology, because China's looking, Russia's looking, India's looking. Everybody wants to know what these systems are, what the United States drops in the public sector, whether they're talking about operations, exercises, new military equipment, intelligence agencies using new things. Whatever they're putting out in the public sector, everybody's always watching. So, of course, the military isn't going to give the whole plan away of what's really out there. But this is just a small insight into Cerberus. Cerberus also works with 5G. It actually works with 6G networks that is already out there running military operations. And I was telling you behind the scenes that 5G, 6G, I told you this a long time ago, that it can actually map. It can actually do 3D mapping inside a building, outside, people walking, cars driving inside a building. It can create a 3D, like a hologram that the military can see. And it's using everybody's phones. It's using the Wi-Fi, the internet. It's using, in the beginning, back in the 1990s, some of the first operations came out of Florida. They were spraying the air with aluminum, and they were practicing using 5G, shooting it, and then they were getting all the data from that, putting into advanced computer systems. And they were, those were the beginning operations that Deep State was actually doing. The military too was very interested in this. Now all of that stuff has really progressed. They're not using, all of this aluminum that they were spraying in the beginning through the air, through these chemtrails. Now they have a lot of different operations. They're using the weather radar systems, the Doppler systems. They're using the military radar systems. They're using the systems over from NASA. They're using the satellites. They're using the 5G, the 5Gs inside of the cities, and they have 6G. There's a lot of stuff connected over to this very advanced technology that USSF is using to track what's going on everywhere. They know what's really happening, how many people really showed up at the events for the No Kings. It's not 7 million people that showed up. Now it's confirmed. Those are just old videos, 2017, 2018, 2019. Those are old video that MSNBC, mainstream media, people are using inside the newspapers, these huge, gigantic protests. But it was nothing close to even that number. Most likely it's around about 15% of that number or even less. But it's not 7 million people that came out. Also, talking about this, that it can track everything and knows what's going on. Where Trump lands, wherever Trump is at, the systems are running. Butler, Pennsylvania, all the system, the satellites, everything was activated. It knew what was happening. It knew everything that was happening. The same thing with the Charlie Kirk event. The military spy planes were there. There were military drones there, 3 military drones running at high speeds. There's so much stuff there that was going on over with Charlie Kirk. We're going to get back to this huge, gigantic story of Raytheon, Israeli intelligence with Raytheon connected over to AZ technology, connected to underground bases. We'll get over to that story. That'll be towards the end of the videos. So anyways, right now we're talking about the sniper's nest, Mar-a-Lago, Secret Service, the FBI, the military who tracks Trump's operations, where he's at. USSF is always following. They always know where he's at. NASA always knows where he's at. All of these flight trackers always know where Trump is always at. The military is always watching with different operations. There are some people who say Trump isn't insulated. That 17th letter of the alphabet was saying that Trump is insulated. He really is insulated. That's a military fact. Now, this sniper's nest, there is no way somebody got that close to Air Force One in that area where Trump always lands. Even if they didn't have advanced security, the first things this Secret Service would have done was gone through the whole trees. They would have looked for any anomalies, something out of place, the FBI, because even after the assassination attempt that happened at Butler, Pennsylvania, they would have took a lot more precautions. And that's the first thing that people inside the Secret Service, people inside the FBI, the people who advise them, the people who give information, that's the first thing they would have said is, okay, let's look in the trees. There's a place that somebody could set up. Let's look at all of these buildings. Okay, what else could be hidden underneath the layer of the ground? A small little place where someone could hide. They would have had dogs. They would have secured the whole perimeter. That's just the human side of how the military, would have made sure that the perimeter was safe. And they would have done that all the time, actively, weekly. But with advanced technology, they know who's coming, moving out, who would be building something there in the tree, creating something, a sniper's nest, creating this huge thing to hide in. It would have been tracking this human, even if they don't have a phone. This system of Cerberus is so advanced that, the AI systems, the super AI systems, will watch everything in real time. It can find snipers in a potential attack. It can track how there's strange movements happening. Something's happening in the trees. It does its own, almost like a military assessment. It runs through these programs, say, okay, there's a guy walking the tree on a Sunday. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. This is really strange. Even if it's in the afternoon, say this is out of place. What is he doing? And it'll track him. Then it'll track where he came from. Then it'll even track it further to a car, to a bus, wherever he went. Then they'll start tracking him with different super advanced systems that, were actually created around 2014. These systems is connected to what Snowden was talking about. They're tracking Americans, tracking humans. He didn't give you all the information, but it's more advanced than that. And that's in 2014 of how they're tracking Americans. Now we're talking about super advanced technology almost 15 years later. It's way different of how they can track humans. That's why they tracked all of these people at January 6th, the FBI, the technology they had. They tracked the whole area, millions of people, and they found all of these people that were there. So they have super technology that can track everything. So there's no way they could have set up a sniper's nest. There's no way that nobody knows what's happening. This is all just a facade they're setting up for a huge story that's going to come out, and we're heading towards that direction where white hats are going to stage this huge event connected to Trump once again. That's going to set off laws of war, things that are connected to military protocols to protect the President of the United States that were inside this huge, gigantic Civil War event. So that's what's kind of happening. The story in the news, the Trump with the sniper's nest, that was near Mar-a-Lago. And let's see what else is kind of happening in the news, just a little bit. We talked about the No Kings rally. It's just a dud. It's kind of comical to me, but they're going to keep on pushing. I didn't really push the story. I just said, well, we're inside of this event. A lot of stuff is happening since the Charlie Kirk event. A lot of stuff keeps on happening. Different shooters, different cities, military being deployed, more military coming out. A lot of stuff is happening. And I don't know if you guys seen that video over in Memphis. They made a video of where people are so happy that the military's there. People couldn't even walk down to the grocery store, in these dangerous neighborhoods. And a guy says and I think he says in so many years, I think he says 10 years or something. He says, he goes, I haven't even walked over, to the store in this long. And people say, my kids haven't even played outside on the streets, since forever. So there are so many people, they're so happy. These black people, black communities are really happy the military's there. There's peace and there's no shooting going on. And Trump actually shared that video, and I thought that was really cool. I'll share that video.
This is an official post from the President of the United States. Federal agencies and National Guard in Memphis.
Please, with a warrant. Keep your hands up with nothing in your hand.
All good. You guys be safe. Thanks.
All right.
Lock 'em up.
There's been over 380 arrests made in Memphis, Tennessee in just a little bit over a week.
I done walked to the store. Y'all got me a bag of ice. I ain't walked to the store in about 20 years.
Boy, I tell you what, Memphis is a madhouse. The National Guard's done made 300 arrests, done taken 300 criminals off the street, and found like 9 missing children.
Ever since 12 and Trump done came to Memphis, I ain't heard no gunshots at night.
You know, for the first time in 5 years, my kids have been able to play in the backyard and be able to do it comfortably.
When the sis in Memphis says she's grateful because the last 2 weeks it's been quiet, it's been peaceful, her kids have been able to play, and y'all have a problem with that?
And then also, Prince Andrew royal title is removed. You know, even though people say there's no Epstein, United States government says there's nothing, Trump said, are you still talking about Epstein? And everybody got angry about it. Kash Patel says, you know, there's no ties, there's no elite figures, but still there is huge, gigantic, massive, gigantic panic. So if there's nothing, then why is Prince Andrew, you know, why is there a lot of panic around him? Why is his royal title being removed? Why are people still looking into Prince Andrew, what's happening? And it's just creating more speculation. Now that his title's removed, people are like, he must be guilty. You know, people are thinking this over in London, over in the United States, that, yep, he definitely was part of something having to do with Epstein. They're not telling us the truth about Epstein. So this is just going to grow because this Epstein stuff, I tell you, Trump military, United States, the FBI has all the information, but they're leveraging corporations, elites, countries for different reasons for the storm operations, you know, even connected to tariffs, you know, even down to bringing down their governments, exposing the deep state operations. There's so much stuff that's gigantic connected over to Epstein. Like I said, that's connected to the Oklahoma City bombings. I said that before. I've done a story on that. That's connected a long time ago. This is just context for the new viewers, you know, for the new channel for Rumble, YouTube, the news update that I'm sharing. So the stuff that happened a long time ago with the, you know, what happened with Nicaragua, the Iran-Contra scandal, all of that stuff connected to where Bill Clinton was, moving military flights between these different countries, Colombia, Mexico, Nicaragua, bringing in drugs into the United States, human trafficking into the United States, you know, to the place where Bill Clinton was the governor working with CIA operations, these human trafficking. It's much bigger than the movie that you saw. I think it's called American Made. It's with Tom Cruise, but a large parts of those stories is true. You know, but it's much, much bigger. The Iran-Contra scandal is connected to. It's just huge. Human trafficking, pedo operations, deep state, the whole enchiladas there, but it's connected to Epstein. Wes Lexner connected to flights. Eventually, Wes Lexner, JP Morgan, Epstein is going to start moving flights, you know, from the United States going across into China. They're going to be moving military information, military technology, weapons trade. Then that stuff is going to be connected back over to Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew was actually running operation between countries. He was running the gun trade. That's what he was actually doing behind the scenes. He was running a lot of illicit programs between different countries from Africa to the Middle East. He was running a huge, gigantic drugs trade, and he was working with a lot of subsidiary corporations, companies, and different partners. And that's also connected over to Epstein. So all of that always involves human trafficking. It always involves the sex trade, human slaves, and then, of course, goes back to the elites in different countries, pedo operations, blackmail operations. So that's what's happening. That's just a little bit of context. So now Prince Andrew, his title is removed, and they're still looking into him. So that's hitting the world news right now. And then, of course, you hear that Dan Scavino is going to be the person who's going to deputize soldiers into becoming United States Marshals. And then also police officers, they're looking at different programs, different projects. And then ex-military people that were also ex-military, they're planning these huge, gigantic operations to militarize a lot of people that, if they want to, people that were ex-military to become U.S. Marshals. There's a lot of talk around this happening behind the scenes, happening in the wires. Like I told you what was really happening when all the generals, all the colonels, admirals came in, Pete Hegseth, what really happened behind the scenes. And then what's happening with the United States, that the United States government is shut down. Now, when the United States government is shut down, now the military can bypass congressional Senate powers. They don't need that. The military is actually running secret continuity of government operations. Like I said, they can bypass Congress. They can bypass Senate. Now they can create operations. And a lot of these operations are pertaining to this thing that we've been talking a lot about, 11.3, the laws of war, where there's going to be the real military in the streets inside the United States. And they're going to bring back, they're going to bring back the real United States, the real justice, the real laws, and they're going to get rid of the deep state. And that, that connects over to the blue states trying to succeed, creating this huge, gigantic civil unrest, constitutional crisis that's headed toward a civil war. The military is prepared for that. So in this time, the military, the United States military behind the scenes, they have the power to look at all the financial banking records because they're preparing for tribunals that's going to be coming up. That's after the exposure of the military coup that's happening inside of the United States. Because this is a coup, and this is all going to connect over to the United Nations. And I've given a lot of story into a lot of this stuff. But getting back to the military has the power to look into banking records. They have the power to look at organizations. They're already doing military assessments with the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the courts, the lawyers. They're already investigating all of these corporations, organizations inside the United States. So working with globalist operations, Davos Group, the CCP. I mean, it's much, 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 much bigger. It's huge, because towards the end of this video, the middle of this video, we're going to talk about the underground tunnels connected to Raytheon, Tucson, Texas, San Antonio, and why it was important that the United States start going after these unconstitutional underground military bases and to bring out the exposure of what's really happening, because this is gigantic what the military behind Trump is really doing to bring out the disclosure of a lot of hidden projects. I mean, stuff that'll just blow your mind. So right now, the military continuity of government, those operations are actually happening. But they've been kind of happening for a long time, since 2020. Trump signed executive orders. Like right now, you'll see that Trump has talked that he signed over 400 executive orders. But in the public sector, in the government, database on the internet, if you can search for it, you'll only find about 150 executive orders that he signed that exists this year. That's because, say, the other 250 executive orders, those are secret executive orders that went into the higher heads of these military operations, connected to continuity of government, connected to laws of war, connected to the devolution plan. So there's a lot of operations that have already been initiated. A lot of stuff has been going on. Trump has been giving you the comms. He's told the military, he told everybody directly, I've been the president since 45, I was the president. Since 46, I was the president. Since 47, I'm the president. He's telling you that he was the president during this whole time. He's giving calms to everyone. So that's why right now the United States military operation, while the government has shut down, the military is already running a lot of operations to control all the satellites, to run all the, to control all the highways, all the bridges through the United States. They have plans to bring a lot of these divisions of the police department into militias, because they're going to need more than the military to control over 300 million people inside of the United States. So that's why a lot of people will need to be deputized as marshals, including people, special forces, ex-soldiers, people inside police departments, National Guard. So this is huge, just gigantic plan that everything is leading up to. So that's what's happening right now in the news. And if you're new to my channel, just to give you a little bit of information, I'm going to share this in YouTube, this part of the video to start, and then I'll also share it over in Rumble. If you're new to my channel, I've been giving the information back in 2014, what was going to happen with the pandemic, and then what was going to happen with, the vaccines, and then with all of this digital travel stuff connected to, vaccine passes, and then eventually that we were going to go into war, military operations, we're going to start controlling all of this stuff. The United States was going to go into a civil war. Then I started giving all the information even before the Russia stuff happened with Ukraine. I explained those were military operations to bring down the deep state organizations from the United States, Europe, funneling money over to Ukraine. And then even to Musk, I already said this was going to happen, that Musk was working with USSF. Trump actually placed him. And then Trump, even though Musk seemed like he was a Democrat, he went against Trump. He financed the Democrats. I told you that's just a show. Musk is eventually going to flip, and then Musk is going to buy Twitter, and then Twitter's going to be this huge echo chamber through the world for the pandemic, for the virus, all of this corruption stuff. Now you see all of that stuff happening. And then I've been giving so much information on the underground bases, from Colossus, what SpaceX, Musk, what's happening over in Huntsville, what's over in Tennessee, a lot of different stuff. But a lot of stuff I've been giving, lots of information of everything that's really happening behind the scenes, wires, cables. So in this next part, we're going to get into the Manchurian Candidate, and it's about a lady, and it's going to have huge, gigantic, I think a lot of this stuff, it's actually going to start to hit the scandal that's going to hit, that's behind Charlie Kirk. It's going to go back and forth in the public sector. Everybody's going to be confused. And it's connected to Raytheons, connected to a lot of organizations, to Sweden. That's connected to the Odd Fellows. It's connected to the Illuminati, 33rd degree Masons of Erica Kirk, her father, her mom, her grandfather. This huge, gigantic story. And then the contracts that's over in Tucson, connected to Raytheon, the military industrial complex systems. So get a chance, subscribe to my Patreon, to get this full intel, full information. Join News 17 channel over in Patreon and come see the full library of information videos and get the weekly updates and see all the special videos and learn what's really happening behind the scenes, all the different operations. Get the cables, the wires, the intel, and all the drops, and keep updated. To join costs as much as a premium cup of coffee a month. I'll see you guys over in Patreon.